Hi, my name is Newell Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update of our hardwood pellet bin. This is the ones that's using the hardwood pellets from Lowe's, and these are what you burn in your wood-burning fireplace, I guess, that has the pellet burners in them. And I soaked them in water, and we made this bin. We're going to do an update. It's been going for a couple months now. It seems to be doing pretty well. I've been adding food to it, and I've been adding some stuff and adding water for moisture. And let's take a look and see how it's going. All right, so here is our bin here. So some moisture on the top. This is not surprising. I had it sealed for a while now. Lots of coffee grounds, if you can tell in here. I've been throwing in a lot of coffee grounds. This is leftover orange. I was just threw it in here to see if it would break down. It looks like it's slowly starting to break down. It's kind of moldy right now. I'm not going to do too much with that, but it's sort of an experiment for me. I just threw an orange in. So, here's a very feisty worm right here in the coffee grounds. It's a little bit dry in here, even though there was moisture on the top. There are lots of, it looks like pot worms, these white worms that are in here, which I've always found is the case with coffee grounds for some reason with me, that I always seem to get pot worms. Here's some a worm here in this, I think this is leftover pulp, some food pulp. So let's just dig in here. See, it feels a little bit more solid than it has been in the past. Trying to dig through a little bit slowly so we don't miss too much here. So lots of coffee grounds in here if you can't tell. I probably should add more eggshells to balance it out a little bit. Here's a pocket of worms in here. This is where I probably had, I've been juicing a lot lately. So this is where I had some worms. I probably found the pocket of juice in all these coffee grounds. I'm just going to throw this over here. No odor to this at all. I mean, not even like smelling like orange or anything. Oh, here we go. Here's some worms down in here. These are nice big, and they look very healthy, these worms. They're a little bit bigger than, maybe not, maybe about the right size, but they're not the tiny worms that I've had in some of my bins. So it does feel like they are starting to break down this wooded material that's in here. So I did at one point take a few worms out of this bin. I needed some for another project I was working on for myself. And so there might be a little bit less worms in here than normal, but there's quite a few here in these castings. And these are really, these pellets are starting to break down really well. Now, I am noticing that this is becoming a little bit more compacted as they're breaking down more, but as you can see, plenty of healthy worms in here. They're kind of spread all throughout. Let's just see here. I'm going to dig here in this corner. So, a couple worms here, but not as much as I was hoping in the other parts of the bin. This still looks just like wet wood pellets that have soaked it up, and some of them still have their texture a little bit, although it does seem like they are starting to have, there's a worm over here. So it does feel like they are starting to break down a little bit more than they were. But I mean, I'm still finding, and this pellet it had dried up a little bit, but let's just see here. So there's still a lot of the sawdust type material in here from those wood pellets. It is moving along, but I have to say one thing that I'm noticing with this bin that I really like, as somebody who has typically done tons and tons of cardboard bins, cardboard really quickly soaks up water and it starts getting way down, and it just compresses and compresses and compresses as you get deeper, which is why I like these really shallow bins. But this is not kind of doing that same thing. Like, it's very easy to just dig up and then it just falls apart. It's not soaking up the water quite like a cardboard would. It's not that type of material to soak up moisture. And it's actually, as I've said in other videos, it's wicking it towards the surface and sort of drying out the bin at times. So, but it's all just flakes apart. I mean, it's just, this is what you'd want to see sort of as finished compost, is something like this, where it just sort of flakes apart. It's a little bit of moisture, but not too much. If I were to probably really squeeze this, I'm trying to find some without worms in it. I'm not getting any moisture out, but it does kind of hold its shape and then kind of fall apart when I crumble it. So it's a little bit dry, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to roll this orange down into here and see if that'll eventually dissolve. This feels dry right here, this corner. In fact, this is drying out. This breaks apart pretty easily even when it's dry, compared to like the compost that you'd find in a worm bin. When it dries out, it turns into almost like a rock. But Less worms this time, but as I said, I took some out because I was working on something else that I needed some worms for. And this was the bin that had them all at the top when I put the juice pulp in. So overall, it is working pretty well. I think I might have to cut back on the coffee a little bit, or maybe at some point add some, like this is kind of, the coffee grounds are really holding in the moisture actually quite a bit more than the than this stuff, and they're kind of clumping together. But overall, it does seem to be working pretty well. We'll see if the number picks back up in worms, especially as I add some more food to this. Right now, it feels like there's quite a bit of food. I mean, you know, there are worms in here, obviously, and they are all through the bin. It's just not quite as much as probably as I had in the past. Let's just dig through this corner a little bit here. So there are some more over here. On this side, it seems like maybe there's some more food over here. So I mean, there are a lot in here. I mean, there's a lot that are around this size, all just spread out. They're not really clumping together like, you know, it's not a big worm ball or something like that. So, and then here's some dry bedding here at the bottom too. So this still could absorb more water or more moisture. I mean, you can just see that it's right there. I mean, this is all dry, not dissolving at all. Whereas the stuff on top, you can tell the color difference here between the dark brown and then the light brown for the drier material. But so far, this is working pretty well. I'm really kind of surprised that it's so loose and crumbly. I mean, you know, I've had cardboard bins that turn to moist. You know, they get a little bit too wet, and then boom, it's all sticking together so well. But this one seems to be doing pretty well as far as the moisture content, and the worms themselves are moving around quite a bit. So that's my update for this week. We'll probably come back in a couple weeks, and at some point I might stop feeding this one and let this one go and sort it out just to see how they're doing in here. And, you know, I'd like to see all this stuff sort of dissolve down too, this paper products. I'm going to bury these under here. I hope that they get eaten. But I'd like to at some point sort this one out, and I want to try building a new sorter here to sort something like this. And this is the type of material that I'd really like to see, where it's just kind of crumbly, and the worms would just kind of fall out of it, instead of something where I have to sort it under lights because there's just so much moisture and buildup that it's really hard to sort. So we're going to try it out, but so far this is working pretty well. As you can tell, there's actually quite a few worms on top here. Hopefully they'll dig down in and start eating. Actually, it looks like this one right here has a really light band on it that looks kind of thick. I wonder if it's about to lay a cocoon. It looks like it's really bulging out. So we'll see. But this is what this bin looks like, and I'm going to close it back up. I'm going to keep the moisture in, as it seems to be drying out on one side, which you can tell from the lid here. It's dry on this side over here, but not on this side. So it's drying out on one side, but not the other. So I'm going to put this back on, and that's my update for this week. Please like my videos and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy them. And thank you very much.